so many faces here today. As you may have noticed, seen, heard, we do not have the Lieutenant Governor with us here today. So, if that's a surprise, I'm sorry. I wanted to give you a brief explanation of what happened. We got a phone call at 9:30 last night, and we're told that the Lieutenant Governor was required at some emergency meetings that they were holding in Salt Lake. And she wanted to be here and just couldn't be here. We have an ironclad promise that she will be here with us again in the next few months. So we will still have her here, and we'll be excited to welcome her here. But we also assured her that we understand that we elected her to govern, and we are glad that she's doing her job. So we will see her again. But the amazing thing is that sometimes things work out the way that they are supposed to work out. So things always work out, right? So we are so privileged to have a different program today. And I won't say everything. We have a good introduction planned and everything. But just as a little teaser, we have Jenny Taylor, whom you may have heard about, who's here, and we have Eric Dodge, who is here as well, who sings. Here's the thing. It is September. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of September 11th. And with everything that has been happening in Afghanistan and in our country over the last few weeks, I cannot think of anything that would be more appropriate for us to be thinking about and remembering today. So we scheduled the Lieutenant Governor 6 months ago. We had no idea that things were going to be this way right now. But now we do, and this is perfect. So I am truly, truly thrilled with the program we'll have today. So let's see. I want to make sure and recognize some elected officials that we have here with us today. So let's see if I can get them all without looking at my list. We have Adam Snow, who is our newest commissioner. We have, here at the front table, we have Lorraine Cox, is the president of the Utah Federation of Republican Women. We're so glad she's here. We have Representative Lowry Snow, who's here. We have my favorite elected, Eric Clark, the county attorney. We have Commissioner Gil Almquist here. We have Lisa Sandberg, is the chair of the Washington County Republican Party. And we have Gary Christensen, our recorder. And Danya Jessup, mayor of Hilldale. And Celeste Malloy is here representing Chris Stewart. So we'll recognize her too. Okay. So we're just so glad to have so many good people with us, and we have some other legislators who would have loved to be here but are also in Salt Lake for meetings. But I did want to let you know that the program we have today is thanks to some great work by our board, and especially we have to thank the Pikes, John and Christy Pike, who got Jenny here for us today. And our legislators are kind enough that they are sponsoring this event for us so that we could make it all happen. Okay, now without further ado, we will move forward with our program. I have one small change for the program. So we'll begin with a prayer. Sharon Simmons will give us our prayer. And Carol Bracken will give us our Americanism and then lead us in the pledge. And then we will have a new member welcome by Michonne. Where are you? Okay, by Michonne. And then at that point, Charlotte Devlin is our board member in charge of the MELP program, which is a National Federation of Republican Women program that gives us the opportunity to donate some books to local libraries. So she'll just take a brief moment to show you what we are doing for our MELP program this year. And then at that point, we will move forward with our program. So, Sharon. Okay.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for the ability to be united and to resume our monthly meetings. We're grateful to Thee for the staff of the Abbey Inn for their hospitality and for our caterer Carrie who provides for our nourishment. We're grateful for this great country Thou hast given us that we love, even through this divisive and turbulent times we are experiencing. We're very thankful to Thee to have with us this evening Jenny Taylor for her sacrifice to our country, and Eric Dodge, whose entertainment we enjoy and brightens our spirits. Father, we ask for Thy blessing for the families of our military whose loved one paid the price, ultimate sacrifice in Kabul. We ask for Thy blessing for the family of Utah's own Marine Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover of Midvale, 31 years old, a Marine leader who was on his third deployment to Afghanistan and who served our country honorably for 11 years. We ask for Thy blessing for those servicemen and women who were injured in the Kabul attack, and for Thy blessing for those who are still in harm's way, that they may return safely home. We ask for Thy blessing for the many civilians who also remain in harm's way in Kabul, and for Thy blessing for their families who are fearful for and worried about their loved ones, that they may be reunited. We ask for Thy blessing for our special guests, Jenny Taylor and Eric Dodge, who help others in their unique ways, for their willingness and graciousness to be with us on such short notice. And Father, we ask for Thy blessing for our dear friends, Lorene and Lestar, and their families, who are grieving the loss of loved ones, that their sorrow may be lightened each day. We humbly beseech these blessings, Father, in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
As it has been noted, this month marks the 20th anniversary of the tragedy of 9/11. We will never forget them and the brave men and women who rescued so many. Recently, we have all witnessed the tragic withdrawal from Afghanistan and sadly the 13 military service members whose lives were lost. We also remember those whose lives have been sacrificed while serving there. We are grateful for all who have served in the military and thank them for keeping our country safe from terrorism this past 20 years. There are heroes among us. Recently, I read an interesting article on the internet about some of the things a visitor from another country found unusual about America. This visitor was especially surprised by the large number of U.S. flags being flown in several cities in Florida. At first, they tried to count them, but they soon gave up because there were so many. The United States is not perfect, and sometimes our leaders make terrible decisions. But what our enemies do not comprehend and totally underestimate is the deep love and respect that the vast majority of the people of this country have for our flag. What our foreign visitor also may not have understood is that our flag represents not only a country, but an ideal, a commitment to freedom, and much, much more. President Ronald Reagan inspired all of us by proclaiming that the United States is a city on a hill. It is a light to the world, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. Please rise and join me in prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we're excited tonight to welcome all the new members that have joined us since our last meeting. So a couple of months worth of new members. This year we have 36 new members, 6 of whom have not been recognized yet, and 1 new associate member. So if you'll just stand when I read your name. Brad and Kathy Percival. Vicki Sayers. I'll just read them all and then we can clap. Darcy Carlson, Marilyn Jones, Rebecca Crampton, and Shirley Snow. So of our 100 members and 30 associate members, 73 are gem members. These members pay money to our club beyond the annual dues and have essentially eliminated our need to fundraise. So we appreciate them very much. We have 2 new gem members tonight. Silver gem member is Rebecca Crampton. I'm going to stand up again. And Shirley Snow is a gold gem member. We appreciate all of you very much. Thank you.
As literacy chair, this year I selected 2 sets of books written by Connor Boyack from the Lehigh area. He's the founder of the Libertas Institute. And the books he's written are for young people and cover such subjects as the golden rule and the law and how money works and things like that really covers a different part of our society. And this year, we'd like to give 1 set of 12 to Hilldale. And I'm so glad I met the mayor this evening. She is expecting us to come. And also the Washington County Library. And this is kind of what they look like.
Hi there. We're so glad to have all of you here tonight. It's a great sight to see this many people here. We were indeed surprised and disappointed last night when we found out that Deidre was not going to be able to make it to be with us. And I will be very honest, there were some moments of panic. Okay. So when we started talking about what we were going to do, we thought, let's start a little bit of a different idea. It is the 20-year commemoration of 9/11 is this month. And we thought, let's see if we can't figure out some things to do that would commemorate 9/11. And one of the first ones that I came up with was, and it's kind of on a personal note, because last night I called a friend, and I will say he's a friend now. At the time that I met him, he is the age that I was then, okay? When this tall, handsome dude walked into my choir class at Dixie High School. And so I thought, Eric, I've used him for a favor or two before. He might take me up on something one of these days. But anyway, it was almost 10 o'clock last night when I called Eric, and I said, he had it on message, and I said, call me as soon as possible. So he called me a few minutes later. He couldn't figure out but anyway. So here I've got Eric, and I was thinking, when we were thinking along the lines of 9/11, he is a country artist, but he also sings a lot of patriotic music, and I thought, well, that's going to be perfect. One year for my choir concert, we had a patriotic choir concert, and he came and he was our guest of honor, and he sang "God Bless the USA" with my choir. So he was the soloist with us as his backup. So I'll tell you just a little bit about Eric. I don't want to tell you a lot because we really want to get to his singing. He has many albums out. He's got albums selling in 17 different countries and even topped the Amazon.com best-selling albums list. How about that? He's also authored and self-published 2 books so far. His best-selling book is titled Why Not Today? Face Your Fears and Chase Your Dreams. It has sold thousands of copies worldwide. He has shared the stage with many of country music's biggest names, some of which include, and I'm not going to say all of them because there's a whole bunch of them, but I at least picked some that I knew. Okay, Clint Black, Colin Ray, Diamond Rio, Travis Tritt, and Carrie Underwood. So he has been on stage with some pretty big names. It's pretty cool. The thing that was extra cool that we found out, I think this was a little bit of a godsend, but when we started checking out about Eric, we checked on his website, and I didn't even know this, but he has a special connection with 9/11. He was working on a cruise ship. He always loved music, but he was afraid to sing. After 9/11 happened, he made the decision to no longer be afraid. And so he stepped up to the microphone aboard the ship to share his voice and his love of music. And somebody said, you need to go for this, and he did. And so he is a country boy at heart. When not on stage performing his favorite country songs, you can find him out riding horses or four-wheelers. That's modern, you know. Okay. Most of us are the four-wheeler dude kinds, right? Okay. Or camping out at his family's ranch. He loves anything outdoors, including fishing and hiking. Summer, winter, spring, or fall, his favorite moments are sleeping outside by the campfire under the stars. From the brim of his hat to the tip of his boots, he is a true country boy. So now I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to be doing here as far as our program. I have introduced Eric, and he's going to sing God Bless the USA for us. And then we're going to turn a moment to John Pike to introduce our speaker, Jenny Taylor. After she speaks, she is actually driving clear back to Ogden tonight. And so she will graciously take a little leave so that she can get on the road. And after she leaves, and we want to hear more of this great singer. So Eric will take some time then to sing a few songs for us. So it will be a very exciting night. So Eric, God bless the USA.
So I should clarify that I was not working on the cruise ship. I had won a free cruise on the radio. And it was my very first cruise. And it was, actually we left on September 10th. And we went to Mexico, and we woke up the next day. And when I was in high school, I joined Mrs. Snow's choir class my last half of my senior year to get out of English class. I did not sing, and there was other people in the class that did the solos. I never did a solo. I never once. She would walk around. She always walked around the room and would listen to us sing. And she would walk right in front of us, and I would just kind of like mumble. I would never sing. So I never sang a solo until September 11th. I sang a karaoke song on that cruise ship, and that was kind of my start. And it led to me creating some albums. And when I did my first CD, a lot of fortunate circumstances made it so that it was shared all over the country. And I got a nice email from a lady, and she told me that her son Nicholas, Marine Corporal, had passed away serving our country. The helicopter had crashed on the Horn of Africa, and he was the chief, and he passed away. And she asked me if I would please wear his memorable dog tag when I performed. That was in 2006. I've had this on in every single show for Nicholas Sobey, someone I've never met from New York City. And I really support our veterans. Both my grandfathers are on here as well. And so I'm going to sing this song. It means a lot to me. Maybe. Sorry, this is one that Mrs. Snow is asking about, so it's on the wrong song. But come on. And it's not going to listen to me. Stop it. Technology. And if tomorrow all the things were gone, I worked for all my life, and I had to start again. Just my family by my side. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes in Minnesota to the hills in Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Well, that's one of my favorite songs. Thanks, Eric. I was hoping that might be one you'd start with. You talk about a thrill is when somehow someone lets it slip that you like a song that they're going to sing, and then they invite you to come sing with them on the stage. He did that once to me, and I'm really glad you didn't, because that's too high for me now. But I got to sing. Still haven't found what I'm looking for. You remember that? He sings the best version in the world of that with John Huston's gospel choir. And it's my favorite version. And I got to sing it with him once, very poorly done on my part, by the way, but because I don't know the words well enough. But it was a thrill to get to do that a couple times, actually. Yeah, so anyway, lots of fun. I'm only here because I made a phone call last night. But Jenny Taylor, I just had to, I was asked if I would introduce her. So you're not going to get a bio from me, but I just want to tell you a couple things about her. I have to start by saying just maybe a thing or two about her partner, her husband, Major Brent Taylor, who I got to work with. We were mayors together for a time, and we served on the board of directors for the Utah League of Cities and Towns. And there's a lot of things I could say about Major Taylor, but I'd like to tell you a couple things. Most importantly, I think he was a servant leader. Some might have called him a watchdog. I saw that. I was involved with him at a time when we had some serious crap going on at the League of Cities, and he was absolutely wanting to make sure that we did the right things for the citizens that we represent, because we're spending citizens' tax dollars as mayors and council members on the League of Cities. So I got to see and be a part very, very closely with him during some kind of rough times. But it wasn't just that. I know he was that way, again, protecting the citizens' tax dollars, sacred funds, in other committees that he served on. He really garnered a reputation as such. And a lot of things that, you could say what Major Taylor might have done had he had a chance to be here longer. I wouldn't be surprised by anything. I think, some have said, well, he could have been a governor. Oh, absolutely. But he was called another way. He left on his, was it fourth deployment to Afghanistan when Jenny was expecting their seventh. And I just said, Brant, oh my gosh, how are you doing this? He was so devoted to Jenny and to their children. And as I recall, he got to come home for the birth. Hope I'm not stealing her thunder. But he was so devoted to them, but he was so devoted to his God and to his country, like no one I know. And so that's Brent. And so, I'm just telling you a couple things because you didn't come to hear me. But then I got to meet Jenny a couple times through the course of this. We named a community service award at the League of Cities when I was president of that organization after Jenny and Brent. And I got to meet her then and hear her speak. And hopefully, if you haven't heard her speak now, you're in for the treat of your lives. But I have to tell you two other things about Jenny, because Jenny is a servant leader. First of all, she is everywhere, and I felt actually kind of guilty calling her last night, but I really knew that we had to hear her. And so I called her about 10:17. I texted her, said, are you up for a call? I'm going to ask you for a really huge favor that you might need to say no to, but, try to prep her. And I called her, but she is so used to getting these calls, and we gave her all kinds of outs, but she says, if you can help me make it work, which of course Kristen and Eric Clark have made it work, but I would like to come down and do this. But she's everywhere. She was on August 6th of 2020, she was in St. George helping me as we welcome home Sergeant Brian Cooper Mount after he was killed in the line of duty. And literally 11 days later, 10 days later, she was here again in St. George as we laid to rest another soldier, an Army recruiter from St. George, Daniel Andrew Hawkins. And those are amazing times. They're so heartbreaking, and you all may have remembered, especially on the first, the incredible outpouring that the community provided along Main Street, all the way really from the airport to downtown. But it was incredible, and she guided all that. She was here by the rookie mayor who'd never done this before, but she was here to guide that process and to literally hold the hands and hug the shoulders of these soldiers' widows and their moms, families. She was there. She's a designee, Gold Star family representative of the U.S. Army for Utah. Is that close? Kind of. See, I knew I'd screw it up, but she does that for the military, and you know she gets paid for it. Yeah, you guessed. She gets paid, I think, blessings in heaven, maybe on earth too. I hope someday. But she is everywhere. Last Sunday and before last Sunday, Lowry and I and others, Celeste, saw her on Facebook saying, we got to do something for Staff Sergeant Darren Hoover. Did I say that right? So she's lobbying, and you know, Mike Maurer to the rescue. We get the Capitol on a Sunday, the Utah State Capitol, for a special service. She starts it. That's what she does. She's all over the state. She's all over the country. Maybe she'll tell you something about that. Jenny Taylor is a servant leader and an incredible human with the biggest heart I think I've ever seen. So she is helping us establish here in St. George, and the concrete work's already been done. Mayor Randall and the City Council planned with Jenny to unveil the Gold Star Family Memorial in Town Square, right in the center of Town Square by the flags, on Veterans Day. She's led that, and the Major Brent Taylor Foundation, Family Foundation, I think, should be, to help gather the funds that have been donated near and far, lots near, here by probably many people in this room. So that's not enough, but it's enough for tonight to say, Jenny, thank you for coming, for sacrificing a lot of time today. Welcome, and we're excited to hear from you. Please give a round of applause.
It might be a bad sign if we start with the standing ovation because it can only go downhill from there. A few caveats to what, I want to call you Mayor Pike, but John just shared. He's only here because he made a phone call. I'm only here because I answered my phone. And I will tell you why I answered my phone. And if you ever wonder why I'm in the news so much, it's because they figured out I'll answer my phone too. So it's not that I have anything special to say, just most people dodge them. A while back, shortly after my husband was killed, I had a phone call come through that just looked like spam, like any other. So I ignored it. And it came back through like any other, so I ignored it. And the third time it came through, I thought, oh my gosh, I just got to tell these people, get me on your do not call list because I'm not wanting to be called. So I answered the phone, hello, kind of all annoyed. And it was the office of the Vice President of the United States, wondering if my children and I would like to meet Mike Pence when he came to Utah a couple of years ago. And I asked my children if they would like to join me. Now, my children, you have to understand, have lived kind of in a fishbowl for a couple of years, and they've met anyone and everyone and been everywhere, so they're kind of really hard to impress. And I said, would any of you like to go with me to welcome the Vice President to Salt Lake City? I got one taker, so that was fine. It was hot. We were there. I remember sitting with the governor's staff in the little room off of the Salt Lake Air Base waiting for Air Force Two to come through. And we were just there with everyone else who had a special invitation to be there. Well, then we got kind of a special invitation. And my 10-year-old son and I got to go to the bottom of the stairs of Air Force Two and meet with Mike Pence, who was a lovely man. And then we took a tour of Air Force Two all by ourselves. So when we went home and told the other children, snooze, you lose. Like, if you're not willing to be bored with me, then you don't get to be impressed. So if you call me, I'm very likely to answer. Because more often than not, it's someone like the Sean Hannity show, which happened 2 days ago. I was at the dentist getting my teeth cleaned. And I had a friend call and she said, you need to answer your phone. I'm like, I can't answer my phone. The guy's hands are in my mouth. I can't. And anyway, that's how I ended up on Sean Hannity. So I'm excited to be here with you tonight. I'm grateful that you're so accommodating. I said, if you can get me here and back, I'm happy to. But I got 7 kids at home and a lot going on. So as much as I would love to just stay in St. George for a few days, I got to sleep in my own bed tonight. So mostly because I got to wake up there in the morning. I wanted to apologize for not being the lieutenant governor, though I was the Speaker of the House in Girls State Class of 1997. So, all I remember about that experience was the girl who did not win Speaker of the House was very unimpressed with my lack of knowledge about parliamentary procedure. And she was sure to point that out quite often, Madam Speaker. Well, I won the election, so whatever. But I had a great campaign. For those of you old enough to know the gum, Big Red. Oh, yeah. I also had a brand new Juno email account. For those of you old enough to remember Juno, Big Red Jen at juno.com. Right. And I won. So I just handed out packs of gum and it was brilliant. That was a great time. Did any of you go to Girls or Boys State? It's such a fabulous time. And my husband had gone to Boys State in Arizona long before we ever met each other. So very fond memories of my very brief political career. I did later serve as the youth mayor of North Ogden, which is the great irony of all, because then I ended up marrying the mayor of the town I couldn't wait to get the heck out of. And I am now stuck in that town. I live half a mile from my own high school. My daughter's a junior there right now. And my husband is buried a stone's throw from my junior high school. And so we're not going anywhere. Which is great. I love it. I don't know where else I'd rather call home. But I mentioned Girls State. Obviously, I grew up passionate about this country and politics, and I appreciate the teachers and mentors I had in my life who recognized that in me before I really even knew what it was. But tonight I want to talk a little bit about my 5th grade year. So my 5th grade year was 1991. When that song was wildly popular, even though it had been written when I was only 5. By 5th grade, I was 10. And the Persian Gulf War was happening over in the Middle East. Now, I lived in Omaha, Nebraska, the 3rd of 4 children. My father struggled quite a bit with mental illness, and his marriage with my mother was falling apart. He ended up later taking his own life the following year. And I just remember being in 5th grade, where, of course, the curriculum includes American history, and having a fabulous school teacher. So to all the fabulous school teachers who changed lives for generations, John Walsh is one of them. He brought in the old cart with the tube TV that was maybe this big, but at least this deep. Yes. And he showed us the news coverage of the Persian Gulf War. And he talked to us about what was happening, and then we'd flip the page in our actual paper textbook, which my kids don't even know what that is, and we would connect the two. What was happening in the world? What were we reading in our textbook? What did that have to do with civics and the American dream, the American way of life, and all those things? And I remember that song very strongly. I also remember, does anyone in America but me remember, all of the musicians from like all over the country came together and did a music video? And you do? Okay, who can sing it? Stand tall, stand proud, voices that care. Go YouTube it. It's so good. You're talking like Kenny G, you got Whitney Houston, you've got them all, because the country came together for that war that lasted about 5.5 minutes. Yeah. And we showed up, flexed our muscles, and went home. And that was my concept of how America fights a war. But what really drove everything home for me is that 10-year-old girl in that class was the kid who sat next to me. His name was Abdullah. And Abdullah was not from Omaha, Nebraska, as you might have guessed by his name, and as the rest of us might have guessed by his skin color and his clothing and what he packed in his lunch. Abdullah was from Afghanistan. His family had fled their home country for fear of him as a child being drafted into the Soviet army. Remember when there were Soviets? That was the thing. And they had come to America looking for hope, opportunity, freedom, education, a chance to dream and chase those dreams. I love the title of your book. And his family had left everything they knew and had and came to some small town, Ralston, Nebraska, a suburb of Omaha, looking for a chance to pursue those dreams. And I remember kind of the perfect storm of what we were watching on that tube TV, what we were reading about civics in our history book, and that brilliant teacher, John Walsh, making it all make sense. And I felt inside of myself a spark that I have come since to recognize as patriotism. And it is a flame that burns very brightly, and one I refuse to let be extinguished. Now, the interesting thing is, 30 years later, Afghanistan continues to be very influential in my life. How many of you remember where you were 20 years ago this September 11th? I mean, could anybody say you don't remember? Now, the interesting thing is you probably don't remember where you were September 8th or 9th or 10th, because it was kind of just a normal time in America. We didn't have a global pandemic. We didn't have a raucous election going on. We weren't really attacking each other over cops or black lives or blue lives or any other kind of life. We were just living our lives, right? It was September of 2001. We'd all survived Y2K because, let's be honest, we weren't sure. Computers, they're going to blow up, .com, like it might get ugly, but we made it. And so we all went about our merry way. I had just gotten to Santiago, Chile, because I was 21 years old and finally got to be a missionary for my church. I had waited. I was so excited. I put on that name tag that said Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with such pride. And I was as green as they come. And I'm this tall and pale and bright red hair in a country full of cute Chileans. And I stood out like a sore thumb. But I was there to serve. I was there to lift. I was there to teach and to love. And I couldn't wait to get to work. I got there August 27th. Every Tuesday, for missionaries that are so green, our dear mission president would bring us into a chapel with our trainers, and we would have new missionary workshops because we were new missionaries. And I had been maybe to my second of those workshops. We had our training. I was like, you guys, I memorized all of the charlas in the MTC. I was ready to roll, okay? Like, I got this. And our mission president, at the end of the training, called all of his American missionaries into probably the primary room, I don't know. And he told us that 2 planes had hit the Twin Towers in New York, and that a couple other planes had gone down, and that our country had basically been attacked. Now, you all remember none of us had cell phones in our hands that had social media on them, even if you had a phone. And we missionaries certainly didn't have phones in those days. We didn't read newspapers. We didn't watch television. And we only could write home with our hand and a pen on a piece of paper once a week. We didn't live in that communication that the rest of you probably experienced. I wasn't here for the Olympics that came to Salt Lake City in 2002 to help heal our communities. And for a really long time, I felt ripped off. Like, that's so unfair. I have loved America since I was 10. I have been able to identify a love for this country since 5th grade. And I missed probably the most defining moment in my generation's history of America. And I miss those Olympics, and I miss that feeling when everybody played that song and everybody flew that flag and nobody questioned what it stood for. And I miss that. So I came home from my mission, I read some books. I also miss Elizabeth Smart, by the way. I remember getting my first job as a teacher. I picture myself, I was in this office building for the Nebo School District signing paperwork to get ready to teach. And the radio came on and everyone in the office just couldn't believe they found Elizabeth Smart. So anyway, when you're a missionary, like I was a good missionary, I promise you. I stayed focused. I read the entire handbook and the entire Bible, but I can't tell you what was in the newspaper. I felt like I'd missed out. It was my generation's JFK moment. It was the Pearl Harbor of my grandparents. And I had to read about it 2 years later. And that kind of felt like it just wasn't right. At the 10-year anniversary, I found myself really pausing to think. September of 2011, my husband was in Afghanistan. We had 4 kids. Our oldest was 7. Our youngest was 9 months old. And I was at least half a step away from being absolutely crazy. Because none of my kids were old enough to help. And I wasn't humble enough to ask for help. And I found myself thinking about that September 11th that I'd really felt ripped off by because I'd missed it. Until I recognized my entire life has been defined by September 11th. The spacing of my 4 children was completely around my husband's military training and deployments. From the moment we went on our first date and he told me he wanted to join the Army, my stomach hit the floor and I recognized that's going to matter in the long run. That date that I thought I'd missed, by 10 years, I thought, wow, I guess I kind of didn't miss out on anything. We're like right in there. We jumped right in America. And it was a chance to reflect, do I really believe all those things? Because it's great to believe them as a 5th grader. It's great to sing the song. And it's great to send the soldier off to war and fly a flag. Because my generation doesn't spit on soldiers. And I was proud of that. Every time we sent him out and brought him back, it was a hero's goodbye and a hero's welcome. And there was no question as to the integrity or the purpose or is it worth it? No, nobody asked that. Everyone said, oh, thank you for your service. We're so proud. Can we help you? No, I don't need any help. Well, that was a lie. Well, fast forward. In January of this year, I found myself thinking it's going to be the 20th anniversary of September 11th this fall. And probably about the time you all called Deidre Henderson to ask if she would come speak, I called the Weber County Sheriff and said, sir, what are our plans for 9/11 here? I know New York and everywhere, Sandy, they do some beautiful things. Provo, maybe you and St. George have great celebrations. What are we doing here? And he said nothing. I said, that's the wrong answer. And so we decided we would change that answer. And this is where COVID actually became a blessing because all of our city mayors had a weekly meeting with our county commissioners and our health department, city managers. There was a lot of people on one Zoom call. So I said, Sheriff, can you give me 15 minutes? Can I sneak on the agenda of this CARES meeting? So it was a Friday morning. I got on all excited to give my spiel that I think we should do something for 9/11. And they said, okay, they liked the idea. So we started doing something, and now it's growing into this beautiful, wonderful thing that is part of the reason I have got to go home tonight. And we're calling it Weber Remembers, the 9/11 Project. But about 6 months ago, when we really got the idea formulated and started planning, and we thought it was really important, because 20 years is kind of a big deal. I had no way of knowing any more than any of you or Lieutenant Governor Henderson what life would look like now. We thought this is an awesome chance to remember those who died that day and to carry on their legacy. And now I use 4 words. Now more than ever. Now more than ever, we've got to come together. Now more than ever, we've got to stand for that flag, especially when it flies at half-mast. Now more than ever, we've got to thank our firefighters, not just the ones who ran into the burning tower, but the ones who are fighting fires today. Not just the police officers who came to the scene as first responders in New York City, but the ones who put up with everything that's yelled at and said about them today, and they still show up to work. Now more than ever, our medical professionals need us as they are exhausted to the core through this pandemic that keeps being over, but it's not over, and then it's over, it's not over, and then we're back. And now more than ever, my generation's military veterans and service members is being protected by the Vietnam veteran era, because they have said that never again will one generation of service members abandon another as they felt they were abandoned. So now more than ever, we are a week away. September 11th, 2001. It was a beautiful Tuesday morning. My biggest worry on 2001 was that they were going to send me home, because we didn't know if they'd let missionaries stay out of the country. Flights were canceled. There was all kinds of turmoil. We didn't know what the world would look like. I see some parallels in a lot of what's happened with the pandemic, when missionaries and others traveling abroad have been called home or were immediately brought back. And I remember that being my biggest fear. I've waited 21 years to get here. I memorized the charlas. I had no idea what that day or that country would end up meaning to my life and my children and their children, who I had not yet met. I love that John introduced my husband as a servant leader. I don't think I could describe him any better. And we can paint a picture of a hero, which he truly is. We can be inspired by that legacy, but I will tell you, the man likes circus peanuts.
Nice.
Now I'm worried about both of you. No wonder
Yep.
you got along so well, John.
Yep.
It's been a remarkable 20 years. Looking back to my 5th grade year, it's been a remarkable 30. Many of you in this room are older than I am. Some of you are younger than I am. All of us have children, nieces, nephews, or grandchildren who are definitely younger than we are. And the only America they've ever known is the America at war, is the America defined by the events of Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. And my little children only know an America where people just kind of hate each other. And they fight over everything. And they attack each other on social media with really bad, mean, and awful things. And some of them are bold enough to say those mean and nasty, awful things to each other's faces with absolutely no holds barred at all. I think of the great World War II generation, and you might have heard me refer to them before. What do we call them?
The greatest.
The greatest. We didn't spit on them. We did not call them baby killers, though I'm sure babies died in World War II. We did not tell them, don't wear your uniform when you come home. Hide your service. We certainly didn't. So here's my question for you to think about, for America to think about. Is a hero only the hero if he wins? Did the fall of Saigon impact the level of the service of those brave men and women? Did V-Day in Japan or Europe instantly make those brave young men and women's lives worth it because of the outcome in the history book? And the real question I ask myself every day as a mother, are we willing to let the greatness of America die as we lose the last of our greatest generation? Because I'm not. I'm not. I love them, I respect them, I revere them as the greatest generation, and I absolutely believe now more than ever, it's our turn. It's easy to look at them and say, wow, they were so great. They were so willing to give up everything, to ration their butter, their nylons, to send their sons and brothers into harm's way, to hang that blue star in the window and cover it with a gold one. Wow, they were great. It's not the end of the story. America's greatness lies in each of us, in our hearts and in our homes. We all know that right now we've got a lot of turmoil in the White House, in the houses of Congress, sometimes on the local level, but seems to be a little better on the local level. For those of you here elected on a local level, you're doing a good job. What are you doing in your house? I know Barbara Bush would say that. What happens in our homes is far more important than what happens in the White House. I would argue that what happens in our homes has got to determine what happens in the White House. I would argue that each of us has to ask ourselves, what's our role? My role was not in a pair of boots and a combat uniform, but it was the role of my husband. There's only 1% of America currently in the military. 1%. So some people look at that as a very dismal statistic. I'm actually really excited about it, and I think it should be very positive and motivating, because you know what that means? For every one of them, 99 of us should have their backs. 99 of us should be saying thank you and showing them thank you for your service, not just saying it at the airport. For every one of them that will literally die for you and me today, there are 99 of us living in such a way that their death would be worth it. Now that's a bold statement to make, and I'm one of the few people in America that can make it with any kind of credibility. Because I paid that price. I've been on that tarmac. Me and my 2 boys went to Dover in the middle of the night. And we watched as a flag-draped casket went from an aircraft to a military hearse, and then drove away. Is it worth it? Brent thought so. Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover thought so. Sergeant Cooper Mount thought so. And in fact, they didn't just think so, they died trying to prove it. They died trying to prove it. Are we willing to live to prove it worth it? Are we willing to live in a way that makes it worth it? I refuse to look in my kids' eyes and say your dad's death wasn't worth it. And if you want to tell them that, you're going to have to get through me first. If you find yourself wondering if it was worth it, you come tell my 7 little babies, particularly my youngest. Her first birthday was 2 days after her father's funeral. Come tell her it was a waste. Come tell her it was in vain, for nothing. Not worth it. I double dog dare you. I love this country. We live in really horrible, awful, scary times. And I'm motivated by that. Because I know the good guys win. Not necessarily the battle of each day, but I know good will always come out on top. I know light will always defeat darkness. I know that goodness will always triumph over evil. And I know that starts at home, or in my beloved hometown of North Ogden, Utah, population 19,000. It's our turn. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. It doesn't matter if you ever make any money, right, John? Because I don't make a dime. But you better believe I'm going to make a difference. And that's what we need to do. And it starts with us. And it starts right now. Today's your day. Chase your dream. Chase the American dream. And what's beautiful about the American dream is that it's offered to everyone. That's why we go around the world trying to keep peace. We're not the police of the world. We're not the big brother. We're certainly not nation builders. When was the last time any soldier came home with some kind of conquest? We believe in the principles upon which this imperfect country has been founded by very imperfect people. Because we believe that with the right recipe, we can become a more perfect union every single day. But it's up to us. It's our turn. As the greatest generation of World War II continues to leave us, will you let their light be snuffed out like a candle in the dark? Because I will not. I will pick up the torch and I will run with it. And I will make sure that flame burns brightly. And I will pass it to you and to you and to you and to my children and to their children. And together we will light the world. I remember being a 10-year-old girl sitting in a 5th grade class next to a kid named Abdullah. I never knew how he and his country and the lessons I learned in that classroom would impact my entire life. I will be forever grateful for this country that welcomes with open arms those who suffer and those who struggle. We will soon have the opportunity to do that again in our state, in our cities, and in our towns. My husband's not here to do the things we thought he would do with 50 more years of life on earth. They still need to be done. We need to do them. We need to stand up. We need to rise up. And it's our turn to raise up that next greatest generation of Americans that this world so desperately needs. May we all dedicate ourselves to so doing. And when we get discouraged or exhausted or frustrated or just afraid of what is happening, and we just don't know if we can live with this anymore, might I remind you to remind yourself of all of those who have literally died trying. God bless you. God bless this beautiful part of our state. God bless our nation and our leaders. And God bless each of us to stop pointing fingers, but to ask the pointed question, what's my part and how can I begin? Thank you.
Jackie Taylor for president. Be safe. That was absolutely amazing. That was awesome. Great speech. So I didn't really know what I was going to do or sing when I got called last night at 10 o'clock. And I avoided the weird numbers coming in. But her speech really impacted me. And I wear these two from the greatest generation. My two grandfathers were both World War II veterans. Polar opposite guys, completely opposites, but I worshiped both of them. And I took it very hard when they both passed. My grandpa Elmer was a ham radio Morse code operator. I think that's what got me into that. When I used to go over to Dean Cox's house as a kid and drive him crazy because I didn't have any friends. So Dean was my friend and my ham radio buddy. But my grandfather did that during World War II. And my other grandfather was right on the front lines, and he wouldn't talk about the war at all. And just barely, his wife, my grandmother, just barely passed away. And I got the privilege of cleaning her house out because with COVID, none of my cousins or anybody could come to town. And in her closet, I found all of my grandfather's war stuff, his hats, his pins, his letters, his awards, everything that he never, ever told us. And I had no idea what he went through over there. And I understand why he didn't talk about it. And I wrote this song, and I've been able to sing it at a few events recently. And I just decided it's probably a perfect time to sing that for you guys right now. It's called Home of the Brave. Sure. Woman sits and begins to cry. Her husband's gone. She's alone tonight with two little children and one on the way. She's asking God to help her make it through another day. She chose this life as a soldier's wife, so she never asks why. She just waves that flag high. She's as brave as they come and she'll survive, fighting to keep her dreams alive with that kind of strength that's American made. She knows sacrifice is the cost of freedom. She gives everything because she believes in doing what's right. It's worth the price. Every time she makes it through another day, she proves this country's not just land of the free, it's home of the brave. The farmer stares across his land and looks down at his calloused hands. For 3 generations, they've worked this farm. If the crops don't come through now, it could all be gone. But he holds his dream as his destiny. He will not retreat because his pride runs deep. He's as brave as they come and he'll survive, fighting to keep his dreams alive with that kind of strength that's American made. He knows sacrifice is the cost of freedom. He gives everything because he believes in doing what's right. It's worth the price. Every time he makes it through another day, he proves this country's not just land of the free, it's home of the brave. It's a single dad who just lost his job. It's the cancer survivor beating the odds. It's the face of America, looking brave in America. We're as brave as they come, we'll survive. We're fighting to keep our dreams alive with that kind of strength that's America made. He knows sacrifice is the cost of freedom. We give everything because we believe in doing what's right. It's worth the price. Every time we make it through another day, we prove this country's not just land of the free, it's home of the brave. Home of the brave. Home of the brave. Her speech was very inspiring. So thank you. So I don't want to take up a ton of time tonight because I've got 4 hours of music, and I already know that somebody requested the whole 90-minute set list over here. So that's not what I was gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna sing that one for you guys. That's for. I got like everybody was asking me to sing different songs when I came in. Of course, some very difficult ones, and but this one is one of my most popular songs, and I want to make sure I sing that for you guys. If I get technology work. This one's called It's a Woman's World. You've probably heard me sing it before. A man was put here on this earth to give. It started back when God took Adam's rib. He made the prettiest thing alive and the beginning of our demise. Old Adam must have been charmed by Eve the day she picked the apple from that tree. And then she winked at him and said, come on. The temptation must have been too strong. Ever since it's been a woman's world, it all starts when they're little girls. With just a smile or a tear or two, they got us doing what they want us to do. Oh yeah, it's a woman's world, and I'm man enough to admit it. Don't you know that it's a woman's world, and we're just lucky to be living in it. She's telling you. She put some potpourri in my bathroom, some fancy towels I'm not allowed to use. She's got at least 100 pairs of shoes. Hey, where's a man supposed to put his boots? I get to carry all the heavy stuff, and in return I might get a little love. If you want to have a happy life, then you gotta have a happy wife. I'm here to tell you it's a woman's world. It all starts when they're little girls. With just a smile or a tear or two, they got us doing what they want us to do. Oh yeah, it's a woman's world, and I'm man enough to admit it. Don't you know that it's a woman's world, and we're just lucky to be living in it. But I don't know about you, but around my house, I'm the one who wears the pants. She picks them out. Let me tell you, it's a woman's world. It all starts when they're little girls. With just a smile or a tear or two, they got us doing what they want us to do. Oh yeah, it's a woman's world, and I'm man enough to admit it. Don't you know that it's a woman's world, and we're just lucky to be living in it. I'm here to tell you it's a woman's world, and we're just lucky to be living in it. It's a woman's world. So, you were telling him. I'm going to skip ahead and just do a couple here for you. And then if we decide right before we end, I might do one of the requests. I'm going to think about it so I can pull one of those off for you guys. Back when CDs were a thing, and everybody actually bought CDs, and that was actually right after cassette tapes, because I remember all that as well. And I remember way before social media, but I came out with my first CD after I went to Nashville, and I recorded it. I didn't know how to write music. I certainly wasn't great in choir or playing instruments, but I just wanted to make a CD in Nashville. And so I hired songwriters in the studio, and I went out and I did this thing, and I came back with a garage full of CDs with no idea what to do with them. Trying to sell, thousands of CDs at the St. George Art Festival was impossible, especially when I was only getting Thursday mornings at 8:30 on the small stage. So my mom started mailing them out to different radio stations, news stations, and saying, my son's so great, you should listen to this. You know how mothers are. And I got a call from Good Things Utah, and they asked me to come up with my brother and sing live on their TV station. And so I went up there, and we were in the green room, and I get super nervous. Like this is not natural for me to be on stage and singing. I get nervous tonight. Mrs. Snow, Cheryl, sorry, Mrs. Snow. She's like, you're nervous, aren't you? I'm like, I'm always nervous. So, but I was really nervous back then. And so I'm sitting in the green room, just terrified. And there was a bunch of ladies, and they were talking to me, and they asked me, hey, you're nervous. Why don't you sing your song? And I said, are you guys the hosts? Because I knew it was ladies that were hosts. And they started laughing. And I was like, what? And they're like, no, we're here to promote our book. And it turned out that she was from North Carolina. She was a best-selling author. She'd sold millions of books. Her name was Marva Sealy, the Fly Lady. And she asked me if I would sing my next song that I'm going to sing for you. And I sang it for her, and she laughed. And she said, what's your dream in music? What's your dream? And I said, well, I have this website ticker that's been going for like 3-4 years now, and it's up to like 5,000 views. And I really want to see it hit 10,000 someday. And she said, well, how about 100,000? And I thought she was joking, but the next day my mom's neighbor came running over here by Dixie College with an email printed out. And she said, Fly Lady just sent an email out about Eric. And I had no idea who she was. And I found out that she had Yahoo's largest mailing list of 550,000 members. And she told them all to buy my CD. And it crashed my website. And I was like calling GoDaddy up and buying more bandwidth as fast as I could. And every time I hit refresh, it was going up like 5,000 and 10,000 views at a time. We smashed that 100,000, no problem. And I sold out my CDs over and over and over again that next few weeks. We couldn't keep them in stock. They went to 17 countries, all 50 states. It was insane. And then she took me on the road with her, and I got to travel all over the country during her keynote speeches, singing different songs. And it was all because of this one song back in 2005 about kids and technology, which is appropriate since we just talked about that. Back even before MySpace was a thing, you know? Last night a storm blew up and knocked out our TV. A disgruntled 8-year-old came running up to me, saying there's nothing to do with that pitiful pout, asking me what I did when I was a kid and the cable went out. And I said, when I was your age, life was tough. We didn't have this high-tech stuff. Had to get up off your you-know-what to change the channel. Man, life was cruel. Times were hard. No DVDs, no VCRs. We rolled the windows down in cars with little plastic handles. I bet you wouldn't last a day if you had to live the way I did when I was your age. We had to play games on the floor because there were no computer screens. Mom made us read comic books and highlights magazines. Oh, we'd roll down hills and climb up trees. It's killing me, reliving all these painful memories for me. When I was your age, life was tough. Each time the phone rang, you were stuck. There you'd stay till you hung up. Yeah, it was kind of scary. We had to do things for ourselves. There were ice cube trays to fill. We looked up words we couldn't spell in books called dictionaries. I bet you wouldn't last a day if you had to live the way I did when I was your age. So just remain calm. Let's try and be strong. With a little luck, we'll make it till the TV turns back on. When I was your age, we got by. I don't know how, but we survived. Yeah, those were prehistoric times. But I can still remember, someday it's gonna break your heart when your kid's rocket ship won't start. They'll ask you all about how hard times were when you were younger. Then you can be the one to say you wouldn't last a day the way I did when I was your age. Back when I was your age. Back when I was your age. I was your age. when I was your age. So I'm gonna do one more song for you guys, and then I guess you're out of here. We actually talked about trying to do a line dance, but we're not gonna do that tonight. I do teach line dancing. That's actually been amazingly good for me as a singer and a performer. With COVID, it just wiped us all out. Yvonne knows how the music industry has just been amazingly hit. It was weird. Like everything got canceled. They had all these contracts, and they just called and canceled them all, and they aren't really coming back for us smaller groups. I just did a show with Clint Black 2 weeks ago in Salt Lake. He's busy. The big guys are getting real busy, but it's just different now. But I started teaching line dancing. I got fitness certified. I started working for some of the athletic clubs here in town and doing a cardio country line dance class. And that's actually really taken off. It's crazy. I'm doing like one a week almost at different places. So come to Summit on the 17th. I'm doing one that day and do a line dance class with me. Or I think I heard someone say they lived in Brio. I'm doing one for Brio in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I think, over at Brio. So I'm doing one there as well. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna close. I'm not gonna be able to do those, I guess, because I want to close with my grandpa's song. And I'm losing my voice. If you can't tell, the smoke in the air is killing me right now. So I wrote this song for my grandfather. He died exactly 20 years ago as well. August. It was the end of August. He had a slow decline with Parkinson's and passed away right before I went on that cruise. And I remember every day of August, every day of September, right up to the day we left on the 10th to California, to the 11th, and just everything that was talked about in the speech. I remember those as well. Those moments and no cell phones and watching everybody huddled around the TV. But when I started learning how to write songs, I sat down one day and started to write one for my grandfather, his family helped homestead Tokerville, Utah. And they all settled that area. And I wrote this song for him. I had no idea that it was going to be played on the radio stations and Sirius Satellite and put in Country Weekly magazine, and all kinds of neat stuff happened. And this is called The Last Real Cowboy. You may have heard it, but I'll leave you guys with that tonight. Thanks for having me, too. I'm glad to be here. Next time I'll sing those two. I'll get ready. I'll prepare. I was only 3, sitting on his knee, hearing all those tales he'd tell about the good old days when he'd ride the range and blaze those rugged trails. He let me steer the tractor when he plowed, raising cattle, and his family made him proud. He was the last real cowboy. He tamed the land with his own 2 hands, like his granddaddy had done. He loved his wife and the simple life of working with his sons. He was up at dawn with his Stetson on. He didn't stop to rest till the sun went down. Built a legacy, the last of a dying breed. He was the last real cowboy. He was strong and brave, and he showed real faith and earned respect from all. He would plant his seeds, drop to his knees, and pray for rain to fall. If the cause was just, he always took a stand. He taught me work and how to be a man. He was the last real cowboy. He tamed the land with his own 2 hands, like his granddaddy had done. He loved his wife and the simple life of working with his sons. He was up at dawn with his Stetson on. He didn't stop to rest till the sun went down. He built a legacy, the last of a dying breed. He was the last real cowboy. got the call that the cowboy's work was done. It was nearly night when I reached his side. We watched that setting sun. He said his trail was waiting in the sky. So I tipped my hat and said my last goodbye to the last real cowboy. He tamed the land with his own two hands like his granddaddy had done. He loved his wife and the simple life of working with his sons. He was up at dawn with his Stetson on. He didn't stop to rest till the sun went down. He built a legacy, the best of a dying breed. He was the last real cowboy. Thank you guys for letting me be here on this 20-year anniversary. Appreciate it. My name's Eric Lodge. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Well, I really can't add to what we've heard today. So I'll just thank you once again. And I hope that you feel like I do, that you will go home changed after listening to Jenny and to the things that we've heard today. And thank you again for being here.